Welcome to Pimpy's Investment Chat, where we keep investment talk simple. And here's your host, Pimpy.
What is going on out there, peeps? Look, man, we keep talking about how important it is to buy gold and silver for more than one reason. It's not just a great hedge against inflation, but it's great at protecting you and your family's wealth. I've spoken so many times and given so many examples of what's going on right there around the world and why it is you should be careful. I've spoken about bail-ins. We've spoken about market crashes, how you need to protect your 401ks and your IRAs. But sometimes I'll come across a video and I say, you know what? Look, just don't hear it from me. Let's hear from the real professionals and see what they have to say. I have a video that is definitely a must-watch. It's phenomenal. When you see it, you'll see why. This person covers everything I've been speaking about all in one video. And I love it. Before we get started, hit the thumbs up button, because when you do, it helps us get past the algorithm that YouTube puts on us and keeps us from being shadow banned. If you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I surely do appreciate it. The disclaimer here is I'm not a financial advisor, a lawyer, or an accountant. The information that I share with you, I do freely. It is of my own opinion. Hey folks, just a quick reminder that back in 2008 and 9, a lot of people lost all of their retirement savings in their 401ks and IRAs because they did not own gold and silver. Yeah, that's right. Gold and silver protects you from a market crash. So do yourself a favor, protect your retirement by purchasing gold and silver. You can go to moneymetals.com, reach out to them, and they will help you set yourself up to protect you and your family from having to start all over from scratch. If you're a first-time buyer and you spend more than $100, use promo code Pimpy, P-I-M-P-Y, and they will send along with your order a free half ounce of silver. So folks, do yourself a favor, head on over to moneymetals.com and protect you and your family from a market crash, as well as inflation. That's right, head on over to Money Metals when you want to buy gold and silver. Keep in mind, if you're a first-time buyer and you spend more than $100, use promo code Pimpy, P-I-M-P-Y, and you will get a free half ounce of silver. Hey, right now, a special offer for my audiences only. You have a chance to win 100 free American Silver Eagles. That's over $3,000 in value. And all you have to do is enter your email to win. That's it. That's right, there's no obligations to purchase. The link is down below in the description, so head on over there, enter to win. You have between now and December 31st of this year to enter. The only way you can for sure not win 100 silver American Eagles is by not entering at all. So do yourself a favor and enter your email so you have a chance to win. People keep asking me, where is the link, Pimpy? It's real simple. If you're at my page on YouTube and you're watching any of the videos, any of them, you see the video here and you scroll down, see my name right here? If you go here where it says show more and you click it, here's all the links to the things you have access to. If you want to enter into the competition to win 100 free medals, just click it right here and it'll take you to the website where you can sign up. For those of you looking for my address, there it is right here. As everyone is aware of an alternative website, the link is down below in the description. Over here, I post original content as well as other videos that have been banned from YouTube. It costs $3 a month to join for unlimited access, and all proceeds go to finding life's purpose. So come on over there and join us. Beware of scammers. That's right, people posing and pretending to be me. How you can tell us apart is real simple. If you post a comment and I respond, you will see a dark circle around my name. See this? It's either gray or black. I won't be sending you to WhatsApp, and I won't be sending you to Telegram or Telegraph or anything like that, nor would I be asking you for money. From time to time, I will be using material that's considered copywritten. I post this just to show that I am exercising my fair use rights. So when it comes to investing, look, gold and silver are my favorites. They're a safe bet. Everybody should own gold and silver. I have like 96% of all my money is in gold and silver. Sure, I've been talking about cryptos lately with a lot of hesitation. I think there's an opportunity for us to earn a lot of money off these tokens. And for me, I'm just going to turn around and take the money that I earn and put it right back into gold and silver. That is my goal. I don't trust what's going on around the world. I definitely don't trust our banks. But don't just take it from me. Let's listen to an actual expert. This is Stansberry Research. This is Danella's channel. I love her. She has great guests on here. They talk about great things. But this particular guest, when I heard this, I said, this is a must watch. Let's go ahead and follow along, and then I'll chime in from time to time.
You know, let's just start with your thoughts generally on where we are. You say that the crisis is really hitting the core right now. It's really hitting close to home. How do you see things today?
Yeah, I think it was around 2010 that I gave a presentation and telling the audience that around 2015, many problems would, well, all merge or would all emerge. And I think it took a few years longer, but now we're here and almost everything is falling apart. And I made a short list of crises.
Yeah, look, remember I was telling you, this is a worldwide event. And it isn't just one bubble. Like in 2008, we had the housing and the banking bubbles. You know what I mean? Before, in the 90s, you had the tech bubbles. No. There's a bubble in everything. Bonds, real estate, you name it. There are bubbles everywhere. And they're all going to pop all at once. So he lists a bunch of crises. Listen to what he says.
I sent you some notes yesterday.
Yes. And I just want to list them, you know, before we go on. You like you said, you gave this presentation around 2010. You said we should likely see most of these crises unfold by 2015. A few years later, we're basically seeing all of them right now. You mentioned the energy crisis, climate crisis, COVID crisis, refugee crisis, monetary crisis, China crisis, which is a big one we'll get to later, the bond crisis, labor crisis, transport supply chain crisis, happening right now, and what you call the 800-pound gorilla. Do you want to say it?
Yeah, it's what I call the superinflation crisis. Don't talk about hyperinflation. You know, hyperinflation is very rare. We shouldn't use that word too much. Although the CEO of Twitter warned for hyperinflation, but I think let's call it superinflation. You know, inflation of 10% or more, and then
and we're there. They keep trying to convince us that we're at 5-6%. They are lying. I'm so tired of having our governments do this. They've gotten in the habit of just lying. This gentleman's going to bring up how to calculate our real inflation rate. As a matter of fact, he tells you there's a website because they keep changing the formula to try to butter up the numbers to make them look better than they are. Right now, our inflation is 12% or higher. We're already in double digits. Those of you out there who don't have a lot of money know what I'm talking about. You could see it when you go to buy goods. You could see it when you go to buy gas.
Because of the superinflation, we get a food crisis as well. You know, this is very scary. Next, we'll have a food crisis because food is connected to energy. And we had the CEO of a large Norwegian company, a food company, or actually they produce fertilizers.
Food crisis. When I told everybody about this, I said, look, you should consider this. People are like, oh, you're fear-mongering. You're just trying to pump a product. Whatever. You know, here's the thing. You could take this information or not. For Patriots, when you come to this website, go to Survival right here, Survival Foods. See where it says long-term, click it. It'll take you to here. You have 72-hour survival food kits. You have 1 week. Look at the cost. It's cheap. Even for those who are into plant-based protein survival food. You have 2 weeks supply, 4 weeks supply, 1 year supply, 3 months supply. I'm telling people they should start stocking up now. And the thing is, people are like, oh, that's fear-mongering. Nothing's going to happen. No, it's going to happen. It's already happening. Stores around the world are starting to be very short in supplies. Again, you guys, this is a planned event. If you're not prepared for this, you know, you're going to be really hurting bad. If you have the opportunity to pick up some of these survival kits, I suggest you find a way to pick them up and put them somewhere safe where you could store them. Now, I'm not working for Patriots. They did at one time give me a link that I can send people to, and they were offering you guys a discount. but I don't work with them. I'm just telling you, in my opinion, you should consider these kits just in case. That's it, just in case. This way then, if something does happen, you are prepared. This gentleman is telling you there's a food shortage coming up. China is telling their citizens to start stocking up on food. I did a video exposing that these Great Reset people bought a lot of our farms and didn't grow anything on it. And that they were paying ranchers to destroy their cattle, the chickens. Yeah, why the hell would they do that?
And they warn that to produce fertilizers, which we need to grow food, the cost price of making this fertilizer, especially ammoniac, has grown by tenfold. It used to be $100 for one amount of fertilizer to produce, and now it's $1,000. So he's warning about a food crisis, which will be next. And you know, China has been advising over 1 billion people to stock up food supplies. That's weird. That's scary.
Well, you know, it's funny you say that, Willem, and resoundingly true. You know, I was just basically doing a check on, you know, Fresh Direct or Amazon the other day, and I saw bottles of water hard to get a hold of, Diet Coke hard to get a hold of, diapers starting to become hard to get a hold of. So the supply chain crisis is real. But bringing it back to your point about inflation, the Fed can't even hide it now. We had Fed Vice Chair Clarita coming out earlier this week saying, look, another year of inflation like this would not be a policy success. How concerned are they about the inflationary trap right now, Willem?
I think they feel trapped, and they are trapped. And one of the best signs of that was a tweet by...
Now listen to what he's saying, because there is a solution, and there's only one solution. One solution.
A Dutch formal central banker, and that's his name is Lex Hoogduin. I know him well. I interviewed him many times. I met him many times. And he tweeted last month that the ECB is trapped. And he's a formal central banker. He's been running around in those circles for decades. And when the ECB is trapped, and of course they are, because they can't lower or they can't raise interest rates, what they would need to do to conquer the inflation, to combat the inflation. But they can't raise interest rates because there's so much debt out there. So, and when the ECB is trapped, the Fed is trapped as well. And
yep. You see, here's the thing. I told you, our debt to GDP ratio is out of whack. It's like 147 or something percent. In order for them to raise interest rates, the debt has to be somewhere down around 75%. It's too high. If they raise the interest rates, which is what they need to do to help combat inflation, but also pay off the debt, it'll cause the economy to crash. But if they don't do anything, inflation is going to continue to rise, and it will cause the economy to crash. So guess what? There is a solution.
And the Bank of they're all trapped now, and they understand. And what's very telling, that the Bundesbank president, the German central bank president, he's leaving. We had the news yesterday that one of the New York Fed governors is leaving. So that's very telling. You know, it's getting scary. You know, we talked about this for years. I warned our audience for 20 years that one day we'll reach the point that you can't ignore this any longer. Mm-hmm. You know, this was laughed about. And now we're here. You can't ignore it any longer. I meet rich people every day. Every day. This morning, I met a guy. He sold his company, 40 million in cash. He doesn't know what to do.
Because he sees the warning signs. He wants to cash out early.
He wanted to sell the companies to be flexible, but now he has a bank account with 40 million in cash.
Right. And that's something you said you're.
So everybody was talking about this Q movement. Oh, look at all these CEOs going down because they're all involved in criminality. No. They all talk to each other. They started bailing on their companies, selling their stocks, and prepping for what's coming up. They already know what's coming. They cashed out. I like how the news articles are talking about right now. Elon Musk sold $5 billion of his stock to pay for taxes. No, he didn't. No. The reason why they lie like that is so that people don't panic and start selling Tesla stock. They make an excuse. Oh, yeah, Jeff Bezos is getting a divorce from his wife. Bill Gates getting a divorce from his wife. So they're forced to sell stock to settle. No, they don't. They're lying. They're getting the how out of their own stock. Cashing in, getting the money, and preparing for what's coming up.
You're seeing a lot of people not wanting to get rid of their cash almost, and that's why alternative assets like gold, silver, and the cryptos have
everything. We were talking this morning about buying old historic cars or old paintings or whatever. You know, he needs to invest that cash. But
see, this is what I was talking about. I told you, rich people don't keep their money in the bank. They don't like having money in the bank. When I was talking to my friends and I just joked and said, oh man, I bet your bank account's fat. You got millions of dollars. They're like, no. In my bank account? No. I was shocked. They're like, rich people don't keep their money in the bank. We have some money at home for emergencies, but all the money is invested. Real estate, stocks, bonds, gold, silver, collectibles. They don't trust the banks. They don't keep their money there. So whenever something happens and they end up with a large amount of money in the bank, of course they get nervous. That's what he's talking about. This guy's got 40 million sitting in the bank and he's panicking. He don't want to keep it in the bank.
But he's already loaded on real estate. So real estate for many people, you know, they already have a lot of real estate. The cash is not an option. Bonds are not an option anymore. It's a guaranteed loss. So
bonds.
Where can you go?
Bonds are a guaranteed loss.
You can only go to the stock market, but that's very rich valued. So we were discussing, what can you do with 40 million cash and still buy things which aren't that expensive? And then, of course, I was talking about commodities being at a 100-year low still. Many commodity companies are still valued at a 100-year low or near a 100-year low. The price earnings of commodity companies.
Yeah, but there's a reason why commodity companies are low. They're manipulated so that the rich can stock up on these investments and also stock up on these products. So all they're doing is positioning themselves. That's why you got to pay attention to what's going on. He's saying you're at a 100-year low. Why? Why are commodities that low? With everything that's happening right now, that doesn't make any sense.
These gold miners, it is around between 5 and 15 compared to tech companies. When a tech company is trading at a PE, price earnings ratio of 25, we say it's cheap. I can give you examples of gold producers who have a price earnings ratio of 5. So there's still value to be found.
And that's why I like one of these quotes that you've said, when stocks keep rising, the smart people understand the value of money is declining, but the masses still don't get it. So
when oil prices go up, when Bitcoin is hitting all-time highs every day, when stock exchanges are hitting all-time highs every day, when real estate is making records, you know, when prices of all major important assets keep rising, we're not getting richer. It means the money is getting, we're losing the purchasing power of money. It's the debasement of currency. It's a huge warning sign that money is dying. This is where, you know, some of the best books about the hyperinflation of Weimar Germany in the 1920s, it's when money dies. But this is very, very serious. And it's very hard to stop this. Once you get the spiral that people lose trust in cash and bonds and start moving their money to all the government can't print. Actually, we've been telling people, you know, for the last 10 years, buy all the government can't print. And now people are starting to do this worldwide. And that's very hard to stop.
To your point about superinflation, you say forget hyperinflation. When you speak of superinflation, what's the definition for you, Willem? It's inflation running at what rate?
At over 10% a year, but not the official inflation. The official inflation will show 4 or 5%. But as you might know, you have this guy of shadowstats.com. He's an old economist.
Just go to your search menu and put in their shadow stats. See this right here? Click it. Now there is a fee. You can look around on here, but there is a fee to come on here. Anyways, in here, they do top-notch analysis using the original formulas. So they'll tell you the truth in here. They'll tell you what the real inflation is, what the real money supply is. These are things that our government is lying about. And when you come in here and you find out where we really stand, I'll leave the link for you.
And he's using the old model to calculate the inflation, the model from the 1980s, the official model. And when he uses this 1980 inflation model, he finds out that inflation with you guys in the US is 11, 12, 13% a year. So I think, look at the groceries. look what happens with cars. You see it everywhere, prices going up. Look what happens with stocks and real estate prices. They go up over 10, 15% every year. So that's what I call superinflation.
So how does the Fed, what options do you think they're looking at? What tools? They obviously now realize it's out of control. How do they stop it?
Well, you know, I'm the author of The Big Reset. I wrote that in 2014. And my core thesis is we need to find a new anchor for world's financial system because we'll have a dollar crisis as well. We haven't even mentioned that. We need debt restructurings. But I also said we need a gold revaluation because that's the trick the central bankers still have available. That's
gold revaluation. Yes, it's not often you have a chance to actually earn a lot of money off of gold and silver. They usually go up gradually. But then our governments get all willy-nilly with the money and they have no choice but to revalue gold and silver. And if you happen to be holding on to gold and silver, you will benefit from that huge jump in value.
That's the card they still have in that sleeve. And they used that before. They used it in the 1930s. So all central banks in the world still own gold. They still have gold on the balance sheet. So when you revalue gold, you can reset your balance sheet for central banks. And that's why central banks will never use Bitcoin. Because Bitcoin, they don't own Bitcoin. There's no use for central banks to start using Bitcoin, but there is a use to start using gold again. And by adding gold to the official, to reinstate the connection between fiat money and gold, they can bring trust back into the system.
That's the thing. We don't trust our government. We don't trust our media. We don't trust our banks. We don't trust our politicians. We don't trust the feds. If they want to start establishing trust all over, the first step is to revalue gold and silver. You see, we live in a capitalist nation, but it's not true free-flowing markets. It's not true capitalism. It's manipulated capitalism.
And that's what they will do in the end. And that's why I'm not afraid of hyperinflation, because central bankers know what to do next to avoid hyperinflation.
They don't know what to do with superinflation.
I think they hope to create normal inflation, 3-4%. But now, because we came from an era of deflation, we had this deflation problem actually for decades. So they tried to increase the inflation. That's what they also communicated. But it's very hard to try to increase the inflation a little bit, because there's a big risk that you will overshoot. It happened in the 70s. And once you start to overshoot and people start to panic, or rich investors, the high net worth, start to be concerned, and they start to buy everything the government can't print, then it's very hard to bring inflation under control again. One more example is very telling. I saw an interview with an American businessman who was producing lots of pizzas, a whole chain of pizza restaurants. He told the journalist he's buying 200 different ingredients for his pizza chain, 200 different. The prices went up of all these ingredients between 30 and 200% in the last 12 months.
See, I feel sorry for the people in the city, because the people in the country, they know how to survive. The neighbors will circle the wagons, they'll help each other out. We got farmers markets, we got the whole thing. But the city, it's so overpopulated that once the food runs out, it's just going to be chaos there. You need to get the hell out of there, get somewhere safe. You should be storing up right now on food seeds. I'm not even kidding. Because if you're forced to try to grow your own food, you have to first start with the seeds.
So that's superinflation. That's not 4%. Right. That's not 10%. That's 20, 30% inflation for him.
We were talking offline saying how the Germans, fully get and understand inflation. What's the biggest lesson that the US should learn or take from Germany?
Well, I think the US never experienced hyperinflation. So that's a big risk, because once a country has experienced hyperinflation, let's say in the last 100 years, they're very, very concerned about that. And that explains why the German Bundesbank is always warning. That's why the Bundesbank president, I think, is leaving now. They understand the risk. Same goes for China. We haven't talked about that. China had hyperinflation between 1946 and 1949. And that was exactly the time when we had the Chinese Revolution. So the Chinese Communist Party could take control over to mainland China because of the hyperinflation, because of the chaos. And the ruler at that time, Chiang Kai-shek, he fled to Taiwan and took the gold with him. So that explains why China wants to take control again of Taiwan as well, because that used to be part.
So one of the things he talks about is what he just said. How the Communist Party took over China was the fact that they waited for the economy to crash like it is. And then they told everybody, see, your method doesn't work. Communism is better. Socialism is better. We can already see the roots of that taking place here. They're already conditioned a lot of the children, students in colleges and universities. We see this mad push right now for socialism all across our country. This is China infiltrating this country. So they're just waiting for the markets to crash and the crap to hit the fan and go, see, capitalism did not work for you. Communism is better. That's how they do it.
And China understands hyperinflation. Germany understands hyperinflation. The risk, is the worst which can happen to you as a country. Society will break down. And the US never experienced this. And US thinks we're in control of the world reserve currency. There's no problem. We can finance ourselves.
It definitely feels that way. It feels that way. And Willem, don't you think that China obviously is looking at the US? They're preparing. Are they not going to use this as a peg to advance?
You know that my book was translated into Chinese. I've been to China quite a bit. It became very clear to me that the Chinese understand the American monetary situation very well. They studied world's financial system very well. I think China understands that the US is in decline and they're on the rise. And I was talking to you about 1949 because that was the start of the of communist China, when they took over control. And I always hear that for the Chinese, they are working towards 2049 because that's the 100-year anniversary of their revolution. So they're building their power and their influence in the world for a long term. They don't want to take over the position of the dollar in the next 5 to 10 years. They're looking a few decades ahead.
Yeah, but China is on the verge of collapsing themselves. We see that happening. Their economy is crap right now. The digital yuan is not as popular as they hope. Something like 85% of the people that got free digital yuan have not used it. They're not interested in it.
And they know the US is in decline.
Let's talk about all those phone calls.
Well, we're in decline because of our politicians. They're bad money managers. And some of it is planned. Well, actually, a lot of it is.
Calls we mentioned it at the beginning that you're getting people wanting to escape the banking system. I've spoken about it in past.
Okay, here we go. Escaping the banking system. Remember I was telling you guys, you need something outside of the system.
interviews, this is a trend that I'm seeing more and more. Loss of trust in the banking system and loss of trust in the dollar, in fiat.
In fiat, yeah.
People want ways out. Now, with the talk of inflation, obviously, this debate of whether gold is the ultimate inflation hedge has been reignited, with people on both sides saying gold has failed as an inflation hedge over the years, while they're saying, no, it is the ultimate. Where do
It has not failed us. When the value of the precious metals are being manipulated, it isn't the metals, it's the individuals who are criminals.
you fit?
Well, of course, gold has this history of over 2,000-3,000 years. And if you study history, gold always kept its purchasing power. There's no debasement of gold. And of course, you have cycles, and you can buy gold at the wrong time, and then you go down 40%. But if you look on a longer term, you'll never lose your purchasing power with physical gold. It has never happened before.
Never happened before. I've done examples when I said gold was this much per ounce in the 1930s. You could buy a house at this amount in the 1930s. It took 188 ounces of gold at that time to purchase that house. And if you still had that same 188 ounces today of gold, you still could buy a house. It never loses its purchasing power.
And what we know from gold is being revalued once in a while, but it can take a few decades. We had such a period in the 1930s. We had such a revaluation period in the 1970s. We had one between 2000 and 2010. And I think we had a mid-cycle correction in the last few years. And now gold will restart this revaluation process. But we might wake up one day that central bankers choose to revalue gold to a much higher level, because that as said, that can help their balance sheet. But if you compare gold to Bitcoin, and I've been calling the Bitcoin digital gold since 2014, I was stupid enough not to buy Bitcoin. I only started in 2018, but I prefer Bitcoin next to gold because Bitcoin is the fastest horse in the race. It's a new horse. It's a young horse. It can run faster, but it shouldn't be a fight between gold and Bitcoin. It should be a fight between Bitcoin and fiat.
Right. Know? Like they're fighting the same fight, you're saying, gold and Bitcoin.
Yeah. They're friends, right. They're neighbors, right. They're nephews.
Yeah, as a gold and silver holder, yeah, I know. I'm fighting it too, because when people start going, look, Bitcoin is the new gold, when you hear those types of comparisons, your first instinct is to say, no, it isn't. Hell no. There's 6,000 years of history of gold. We have no idea how Bitcoin is going to perform in a major market crash and a monetary reset. And we have no idea how the governments are going to respond to Bitcoin competing against an actual fiat dollar or even a CBDC.
Different way to look at it. Interesting, because the argument I hear is, yeah, gold may have worked in the 1970s as an inflation hedge, that was great, but the Bitcoin is that hedge today.
No, but look, with gold is up over 30% since last year. Gold was trading $300 20 years ago when I started to invest in gold. So you keep your purchasing power. So gold is like an insurance for your net worth. But with Bitcoin, you can become rich. I was in the south of Spain last week visiting some real rich investors who are in our fund and wanted to meet me and play golf. It was very nice. But these guys all have too much money and too much time, and they're over 60 and 70. None of them is in Bitcoin. They don't understand it. But they don't need to, because they became rich by investing in companies, in real estate. But right. The younger generation, the younger generation can only become rich by investing in something like crypto now, which the old guys don't understand. So it's very it's very honest.
Why do you? That's an interesting And by the way, I like how you said too much money, too much time. Isn't that a nice problem to have?
Yeah.
Why is there this philosophy, especially amongst the young, that they see crypto as the only, or meme stocks as the only way to get rich today? Is it because the corporate ladder philosophy is out the door, that cost of living is too high, that you can't just have a 9-to-5 job to become wealthy anymore?
No, you can't.
I think there's a certain wisdom among the younger generation. They don't understand it themselves, but they feel it's the next big thing. And we, or I should speak for myself because you're much younger, but our generation of boomers, we don't feel it. We have to study it. Somebody has to explain it to us, and then we might try and step in a little bit. But the younger generation, they feel it naturally. You know, it's the sign of the times. It's the zeitgeist, like the Germans say it. You know, they feel it. You have the fourth turning. Every 20 years, you have this new generation which have different beliefs and which have different ideas. And we saw this in the 60s with the flower power. So it's a new generation, and they feel this is the right way.
So to that point, Willem, you know, for yourself, you know, obviously you have embraced the cryptos. You are someone from the gold realm, but have embraced the crypto.
Yeah, it was hard. I hear him.
It was hard.
It was hard, but you got there. You got there. Is it just Bitcoin for you? I mean, you know, we hear the chatter, oh, you got to look at Shiba Inu. That's the next one. Cardano's the next one. How do you break it down? Are you open to the other cryptos? What's your philosophy?
Today, I wired $250,000 US for an investment in a very unique fund, which is fully dedicated to DeFi, decentralized finance, which is connected to the most important venture capital funds in the US, who invest in the platforms which will be very disruptive to financial systems.
Can you name it?
No, I won't name it because
right.
But we saw this huge changes, you know, with Uber and Airbnb, and they changed it. They changed a lot of things in very old business models. And when you look at the financial industry, the way we settle and clear stock trades, it takes 3 days. If you want to transfer money internationally, it takes 3 days. So you've got these bright guys now building platforms, and they say, hey, wait, guys, look, it can be done much smarter. We'll use blockchain. We'll use smarter systems. And that's what we call DeFi, decentralized finance. And I think this will be huge because the financial system still operates like 100 years ago. The plumbing system of the financial system, like the clearing for stock trades, you have to wait 3 days.
Okay, and fair enough. I won't keep pestering you about what you invested in, but because the folks at home, our audience is equally mixed, crypto and...
So he gave me enough information to where I could go do the research. What kind of fund can you buy into that helps speed up transactions or settlements for stock trades? What could you do that does crypto, that does DeFi, the whole 9 yards? What I found is Paxos. Paxos is what he is talking about. Paxos is a regulated blockchain infrastructure platform building a new open financial system, and there are many different areas. So when they do stock trades on here, they are settled in the same day. So when he said enough in his interview that I was able to find at least that Paxos does a lot of what he's talking about. Again, I will leave a link for this one so you can guys come check it out for yourself. They are trying to revolutionize the entire financial world, and they're well on their way, to be honest with you. So I'm going to leave the link for this because I think this is the one he is talking about.
Mining precious metals. We mentioned the miners before. You say there's still a lot of value there to be found. Any insights? Okay, because obviously there's so many companies, just like the crypto world, there's so many companies you can choose. So what are the top 3 things?
I heard him earlier and I didn't chime in on it, but you heard what he said. One of the biggest fears for his rich friend was a bail-in. Remember I told you guys about a bail-in. What happens there in a bail-in is they take all of your money out of the bank, and then you become a shareholder or an investor into the bank against your will. And then what happens is as the bank recovers, or you hope they recover, then you're paid back your money. People go, well, what about your insured amount? Well, you got to understand that the FDIC does not have enough money in a kitty to cover everything, because remember, they cover derivatives first and then us little peons. So no, you need something outside of the system altogether. We're talking about cryptos, but the problem with cryptos is this. When you go to sell them, it brings you right back into the system. If you go to buy them, you have to use the system. Although he did bring something up that was interesting, then instead of cashing out into fiat dollars, then you cash out into a stable coin that you can use to do purchases.
Someone should be looking at that's key for you. What are the metrics that you need to evaluate to know, hey, this one has potential?
We focus on small companies being responsible for large discoveries. So if you make a copper discovery now or a nickel discovery, you will do well. And we love to invest in companies who don't produce the metal, because if you produce the metal, at the end of the year, you have less ounces in the ground left than at the start of the year. If you invest in an exploration company who's drilling and finding more, at the end of the year, you'll own more ounces in the ground than at the start of the year.
And you like the royalties, I assume?
Yeah, that's what we have as the safe part in our portfolio, because the valuations are a little bit higher if you look at Franco-Nevada and the Royal Golds, but they tend to be very safe, because the institutions like the pension funds, if they want to enter this mining industry, they almost only can buy the major producers and the royalty companies. And the royalty companies have such a wonderful business model. That's why they are loved by institutional investors. But their valuation is quite rich. Sometimes their valuation can be compared to the cheaper tech companies. But if you go to the smaller ones like Sandstorm, the valuation of Sandstorm is half the valuation of Franco-Nevada.
I want to bring it home with this. So for the folks at home who are looking at their bank accounts, looking at the fiat system, getting worried, right? If they're considering moving their assets outside of the bank, you know, what discussions should they be having with themselves? How do you know if you're ready to make that move? Because it can be scary, right? We've been accustomed to the banking system our whole lives. Like, what do you mean you don't have money in the bank, right? It's a scary shift.
Well, from a legal perspective, cash in the bank, you have a claim on the bank. So from a legal position, cash in the bank is risky, especially when we'll get bail-ins. If we get a next crisis and the financial system has to be, refinanced, you could have bail-ins like we've seen in Cyprus, and everything over 100K, you know, it could be.
Bail-ins, that's what I'm talking about. People are receiving notifications from the bank reminding them what a bail-in is. Why would all these different banks do that? Unless that's what they plan on doing. So if the Great Reset is to wipe everybody's fortunes out and to have you reliant on universal basic income, a bail-in is going to work. It'll help wipe out your money unless you have something outside of the system.
Be gone. So I always advise people take money out of the system and invest it in things which are safe. If you invest money in real estate, the money's out of the system, the financial system, but it's in a very tangible, very, very safe asset. You can also take money out of the system by buying physical gold or silver and storing it in privately owned vaults. I started a company like that myself in 2008. But you can also buy Bitcoin, and Bitcoin, you can take your Bitcoin offline and put it in cold storage. So then your money is also out the normal structures. But there can be a risk because I expect more financial repression from the governments. I think the government one day might choose to close the on and off ramps to crypto, to Bitcoin, because there will be a huge fight between Bitcoin and the fiat system, especially once they roll out the central bank digital currencies.
See, that's my concern. You heard him. that the banks are not going to want cryptocurrencies to compete with the central bank digital currency.
And so don't put all your eggs into one crypto basket. But I always have this model. It's 25% real estate, 25% in stocks, 25% in physical gold and silver, and then 25% there used to be cash, but now I put that in Bitcoin.
And I agree with you on that diversification front. It's just that Bitcoin maximalists would argue, well, why would you own AOL if you could just own Amazon?
Yeah, but when you get greedy and put all your eggs in one basket, you know, if you study history, what were the worst mistakes? People becoming greedy, putting all their eggs in one basket, and the basket then fell.
Good thought.
Anyways, it's a great interview. I will leave the link for this. So if you guys want to hear it without me interrupting, go ahead and do so. But everything this guy is saying is absolutely 100%, in my opinion, accurate. These are all the things I've been talking about now for the past year and a half. And what he's saying is some of the same things I've been saying. All right. I want to try Bitcoin. I want to try cryptos. I mean, everybody knows I'm into Shiba and I'm into the Satoma. But trust me, if those things hit and I got time to do so, I'm putting them right away into gold and silver. I don't want to be in the system at all. And you heard what he said. Nobody wants to be in the system. Daniela said people are trying to get out of the system now. They don't trust what's coming down the line. So whether you put part of your money into cryptocurrencies, another part into gold and silver, I would not trust stocks right now at all. They're really, really artificially pumped and they're bound to crash any moment. And I know there's people out there going, look, my 401ks look good. Pimpy, I don't think so. You're afraid to take it out because, man, you keep hoping to stretch it out just a little bit more before it really crashes. But you keep doing that and one day you're going to wake up and go, what happened to my money? Yeah. Exactly. So protect yourself. 401ks, IRAs. Call Money Metals. 800-1865. Tell them Pimpy sent you. They can help you do the transfer. All you're doing is protecting yourself. You need physical gold and silver. And if that's a lot of money, Pimpy. Then like I said, they have their own segregated storage units for you over there. They'll store it for you. Anyways, let me know what you guys think. Man, this guy, when I heard this interview, I was like, man, I've been preaching all these things for the longest time. And it's just nice to hear another person that's considered an expert say the same thing. That's it for now, you guys. Hit the thumbs up button. If you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel. And I surely do appreciate it. And I'll catch you later. I'm out.